afternoon, as it is now, or evening, or morning, or wherever you're listening to this. I am back again with an oddly timed, I suppose this is kind of more normal procedure for the L podcast, but I've been all over the shop recently with if, when and how I publish these things. The last one I did was Sunday before last, in between, or just before the race at the American Grand Prix, and then I was going to do another one over the weekend, it being a long weekend, and actually today being Wednesday was actually the first day I was back, because I had yesterday off as well. I could have done one at some point over the weekend, but I just wasn't bothered because I was lazy and tired, and yeah, for all the usual reasons. So yeah, I'm back with another shitty podcast, this time on a Wednesday. Someday, some week, some year, some millennia, I'll come in with a more structured and better produced piece of work. But until then, you have to just put up with the randomness and the terribleness. I'm already going absolutely off topic and rambling. As you can probably hear, I'm driving again. I'm trying to use my time wisely. See, if I don't do it in scenarios like this, like when I'm driving, I probably won't bother. And why do I bother at all? Who knows? It's mainly just for my own weird purposes. Get on with it, John. You're talking absolute bollocks. Yeah, I'm driving, so I'm currently pulling out of Nutgrove shopping centre here in south side of Dublin, which is home to Europe's first drive-thru restaurant, McDonald's drive-thru, THRU. Yeah, first one in Europe. So there's a tidbit for you. He says you don't learn stuff listen to this podcast. Yeah, so what have I been up to? Not a whole lot, as normal. My boring existence continues to be boring. Haven't gone to any motoring events or anything like that. I'm sure there's stuff has been on, but I'm not aware of shows and stuff anymore. Like I'm quite active, as you're probably aware, on the old Instagrams, whereas usually where I get my information. But I don't know. Maybe I'm just out of the loop. Maybe the algorithm just doesn't want me to go outside anymore. But I'm sure there's stuff going on. I know we're going into winter now, so it's obviously a quieter time. But yeah, no, I haven't been to anything spectacular. There's a 350Z, a blue one, 2003. I do like the 350Z. It's a car I would consider. I'm sure they're probably quite reasonably priced at this point. Front engined, big meaty V6, rear wheel drive sports car. Yeah. What's not to like? But yeah, no, haven't done or done anything. Have I seen anything interesting over the last while? So I suppose because it's been a week and a half since I last did a podcast. What have I seen? Just this morning I saw an Opel Manta, a yellow Opel Manta. I haven't put it up on my Instagram, but I probably will put it up by the time you are listening to this. It'll be on my Instagram either way. Car_Nosaur, CAR_NOSAUR. But as always, if you're listening to this, you probably follow me on Instagram. Anyway, yeah, a Manta B, so second generation, but pre-82. I'm not sure what year it was because it was on an old it's an original Irish car. It was on an old Irish number plate, which I don't know how to decipher what year it is. But pre-82, so it's not the B2, so the kind of the later version of the second generation. Second generation of the second generation Opel Manta, if that makes any sense. But it was the earlier one, so it was the first generation of the second generation Manta, if that makes any sense. Cool to see, and it was parked up there because I drove by twice today, and parked up in the Crumlin area, just across the road actually from the Black Forge, where that dickhead's pub is. Dickhead who I won't even use his name. You know who he is. He's from Crumlin and he owns a pub down there. I don't need to say any more than that. What else did I see? Sure, I saw more than that. I saw a 964 Carrera 2, which is nice to see because obviously a lot of 964s are getting pilfered and destroyed. I know destroyed is a strong word, but pilfered to become resto mods. They're the kind of go-to for the resto mod scene. Singer being the main culprits. and others like, what's the other one? Was that one over in the UK? Oh, I was even talking to the owner of the company. God, that's bad. They're doing a similar resto mod. 911s. I was talking to him at Bicester Heritage. Anyway, name escapes me. But yeah, a completely standard of period 964. The 964 being, look, I know all this is subjective, but to me, the ugly duckling of all the generations of a bit of clutch slip there in the old Peugeot partner. Yeah, the ugly duckling of the 96 of the 911 lineage. But anyway, I saw, it was nice to see a completely standard of period, had those D9 alloys on it, silver Carrera 2 964. I was like, oh, that's lovely, nice to see. And then I walk up and look inside, and it's a epoxy automatic. And you're just like, why? Like, obviously PDK is a genuine option because it's a good, slick dual clutch gearbox. Some of the faster ones you could even justify an argument to say that it's the better of the gearboxes because it can handle the veracity and speed of the modern power plants. But to get a slush box in an old 911 like that must be, I'm sure that as far as automatic gearboxes go from back in the period, I'm sure they're not the worst, but automatic gearboxes from that era, none of them are of any use in a performance car. You know what I'm trying to say. And speaking of that, actually, Porsches with automatic gearboxes. I watched the first episode of that David Beckham documentary that's on Netflix. Simply because I had an hour to kill. It was actually just before qualifying there for the Brazilian Grand Prix. I threw it on. And I'm sure you've all seen pictures of it. Beckham had a lovely 993 Carrera 2 in a kind of, like, I'm colourblind, but I'm going to say it was blue, might have been purple, but a lovely 993 Carrera 2 wide body, lovely looking car, absolutely spectacular. But there's some footage of him driving it in the documentary, and again, it's an epoxy Tiptronic. You're just like, why? What a great car that would be, other than the gearbox. Look, I know each their own, and like, you know, there's a time and a place where, like, you know, it would make for a, actually, it wouldn't even make for a great long distance cruiser, because at the end of the day, if you're long distance cruising a manual, you're just going to stick it in sixth. Did they even have 6 speeds at that point? I'm sure they did. Either way, it's going to be in top gear, and you're cruising anyway. Just disappointing because it's absolutely almost perfect. I do, as much as I don't like aesthetically like the 964, I do think the 993, especially with a wide body, looks fucking great. That would be a great example, and obviously, you know, there's always a good novelty factor to a celebrity-owned car as well. But yeah, the fact that it's Tiptronic just sours it completely. I obviously didn't see that in real life. I'm just pointing that out from a viewing standpoint, a television viewing standpoint. The David Beckham documentary, I don't know. I don't know nothing about soccer. For pop culture purposes, it's kind of fun to watch. You know, stuff from the late 90s, early millennium. I've talked to some football fans about it. They say it's kind of in a similar vein to Drive to Survive. There's a bit of embellishment in what's shown and what's said, but whatever. Whether I'll watch the rest of it, I don't know. Probably not. Last that I see, put this one up on my Instagram because it's an old British car that's been sitting in a yard near to where I live for many moons. It's just weird. It's on the main road in Furhouse where I live, across the road from the Speaker Connolly, the local pub. I don't know who lives there, who owns the place. It's an old house with a big yard and has, like, you know, just stuff scattered all over it, like heavy machinery, caravans, old cars. But one car, like, it's this big kind of, I suppose, a teal kind of grey two-tone, so white and teal grey, large British car. And to me, like, I'm not great at old British stuff generally, but I've never known what it was. And so I put it up on Instagram, and plenty of people actually knew what it was, which was interesting. It was a Daimler Majestic, but specifically the Daimler Majestic DR 450, which is the extended wheelbase limousine version. An odd looking thing, and when I found, like, it was made in the late 60s as well, like, it looks quite antiquated for the years. Again, all this is up on my Instagram. You probably already saw it. If you haven't, it's up there on my highlights. And I'm sure I saw loads of other little bits of things. Again, all over my Instagram. The only one I'll talk about was I saw a Twingo, a first generation Twingo in Rathmines, silver one, which is always good to see generally. But I noticed it was wearing, because it had its front wheels slightly cocked away from the curb, which is not the way to do it. It's a left-hand drive car, maybe I got confused. Wearing rather racy looking Nankang tyres, which was interesting. I'm sure it would make for an enjoyable back road blast, knocking around in a tiny little lightweight Twingo on some relatively sticky rubber. Although not great in the wet, damp and rain, which we are currently living through. It's gone proper autumn, manky, not quite cold enough, damp, autumnal, proper Halloween weather, which it was yesterday. I do look forward to the crisp, cold days. The last podcast I recorded it from my back garden. Was a nice crisp, bright and sunny crisp day. Now it's kind of like not quite cold enough, but not warm enough. Like it's not cold enough to put on the big winter jacket, but it's not warm enough to go jacketless. Look at this person coming in the inside lane. Fuck you. Sorry, excuse my language. Like that's a concern if you listen to this podcast. Yeah, that's kind of the bones of what I saw over since I last spoke to you. Lots of other stuff, but again, look, it's all up on my Instagram. I mean, quite a lot going on in the motoring world. SEMA is currently on, the SEMA show over in California, which is a show essentially for modified vehicles. A few things of note. Someone, I can't remember the name of the company, some company has built late 50s, early 60s Rolls-Royce Silver Cloud, which they're calling the Silver Cloud or which, so Rolls-Royce Silver Cloud or Silver Cloud or so it looks exactly like a Silver Cloud in period. Very very regal, luxurious Rolls-Royce of the day. But they've stuck in a 640 horsepower Chevy LS engine into it, because why wouldn't you? So there's that. Ineos of the Grenadier fame, and chemicals. I think that's what he's originally made his book in, wasn't it? Making chemicals for industry. I think Sir Radcliffe, Sir James Radcliffe. Yeah, you just pull out there in your jazz. You fucking idiot. Fucking motorists, man. They're all terrible, except for you guys and me. Yeah, Ineos have brought a modified. I assume this is just a way to promote the brand. So I don't think after initial sales push on the Grenadier, I think apparently they seem to have slowed down from initial excitement. So yeah, they've brought out a car to SEMA, which is a modified Jag E-Type with a 2JZ, which again, well, it's a straight six, so it's staying on point. And where the fuck is this guy going? Pretty sure it's cut up on the inside lane of me there a minute ago. Now he's gone the other. Fucking weirdo. It's a prick in a arse. Yeah, aesthetically it looks good. The engine in an original E-Type is, I don't think anyone ever thought that was put a 2JZ into it. I don't know. Seems a bit unnecessary. It's doing it for SEMA's sake, essentially, is what I'm trying to say. I personally, aesthetically, it looks quite cool. This resto mod from Ineos, this Jag E-Type, I'll admit, kind of motorsport, period motorsport, correct, blue paint. Pull up, oh my god, there's space for two cars in there. Jesus Christ. Now where are you going? No indicating. It's an elderly person, and they have got a disabled sticker, and they've got one of those those orb, not orb, but like those those things they attach to the steering wheel, make it easy to turn. Those knob things. Look, everyone's allowed to drive, but the barrier to entry, as I said before, sometimes I question it might be too low. Better move on there before I get cancelled. Yeah, check that out. Like, it's putting a 2JZ into an E-Type. I say it's that's doing something for SEMA's sake. I think you'd be better off just modernising and tuning the original straight six. The XK, is it called the XK? The engine? I think it is, isn't it? Anyway, move on from that. Anything else that was there? Nissan brought a modified version of the new Z car, the 400Z. We saw 350Z earlier. It's nice little throwback. Is that right? Segue. I could have segued from seeing the 350 into there's that. It's an 92 E-Class AMG Jap import, which was driven by here in Churchtown. Just had its nose poking out its driveway. What was I talking about? Yeah, Nissan 400Z, and it's a rallyized version of it, which is de rigueur these days, a la 911 Dakar. Who else is doing them? There's a whole raft of them. There's that Morgan, a woman carrying her greyhound across the road, or lurcher. Would that be Italian greyhound? Italian greyhounds are funny. They're like the greyhounds, but they're smaller. Quite cute. I love lurchers and greyhounds. They're lovely dogs. Very timid, very lovable, very loyal. Fuck greyhound racing, but as pets, as companions, they're great dogs. I think that's everything really that stuck out to me from SEMA. There's also other crazy batch of stuff, as there always is. I'm sure we'll see more. I think it's only started today or yesterday or Sunday or whatever. I think your man Tavares is there, which is partly finished. P1, the P1 that was flood damaged. I haven't watched any of the stuff, but I'm aware that it exists. Fair play to him. Mad, but fair play to him. I think he paid £500,000 for it in damaged form, which is obviously a lot of money, but and depends obviously how much money he's going to put into fixing it. He says he's never going to sell it, and he's going to modify it as well, I think. But yeah, fair play to him. Look, it's content. Yeah, there's this resto mod that popped up on the internet, which caught my eye for all the wrong reasons. I might make a balls of pronouncing this. The company's Ere, E-R-R-E, and the name of the car is the Fiori Seri, F-U-O-R-I-S-E-R-I-E, Fiori Seri. So essentially, it's an Alpha Giulia Quadrifoglio, but with kind of a retro futuristic body put on it to look like an old 1960s Giulia, but modernized. Just look it up. It is quite possibly one of the worst looking cars I've ever seen. If they were going to do this, fair enough, like get a Giulia, modern Giulia Quadrifoglio powertrain and put it in an old body shell. That would be class. Or just have a Giulia Quadrifoglio. This thing's, I don't know how much the price is. It's definitely going to be way too much money. I'm sure, again, these things are subjective, but check that thing out. I'll actually put a picture of it up on my Instagram. It's just so awful. It just looks so wrong. But speaking of resto mods, here's how you do a segue. I've been thinking about what my resto mod would be if I had the cash, and I've decided the resto mod that I want is a Ferrari 400 or 365 GT4 2+2 or 412. They're all aesthetically quite similar. One of those, but with a 550 Maranello drivetrain, so engine gearbox, put nice fancy springs and dampers on it, strengthen up the chassis a bit, voila. because I think aesthetically, I think they're fucking great looking cars. Kind of maligned in period, but I think they've aged brilliantly. Great piece of design. Apparently they're not all that to drive, so sticking the 550 drivetrain in it, and sorting out the suspension brakes. I try and keep the wheels as period correct as possible. You might need someone to manufacture slightly larger ones to fit bigger brakes, but I try and keep it as period correct aesthetically as possible, and just sort out the drivetrain. That's my wrestling mod in a world where I get like GTO engineering guys who did those 250 short wheelbases and stuff recently. Get them to do it for me. In a world where I have lots of money, which I don't, that'll be my wrestling mod of choice. Anything else happening in the motoring world? Volkswagen have shown some early pictures of a production-ish ready of the ID7 Tour. Yep, that's all I need to say about that. Though the Tokyo Motor Show was on, which was some interesting stuff at. They don't call it the Motor Show anymore. They call it the Toyota Automotive Event. Basically, because move, bitch, in your A6, looking at your phone. But anyway, yeah, Tokyo Motor Show is what I will call it from here on. Some interesting stuff. Lots of coupes, which was interesting, because the coupe kind of seems to be dying a death, but not in Japan, because the 400Z, as we just talked about. They still make the Supra. But anyway, a few things. So Mazda, firstly off, these are all concepts for now. The Mazda Iconic SP, again, this two-door coupe, which is supposedly going to show us the future design language for Mazda. It's the concept is an EV shock car, but a fantastic piece of design. It looked great, really kind of sleek, 60s influences, but completely modern two-door coupe. Check it out, the Mazda Iconic SP concept. Beautiful car. Car design has been in a strange period over the last few years, somewhat strangled by regulation, and then also pandering to markets, which I think most designers got very wrong. But this is a great looking thing. And on that as well, then two-door coupes concepts. Toyota brought out the FT-SE, so uppercase F, uppercase T, dash uppercase SE, the Toyota FT-SE, whatever the fuck that all stands for. Again, looks like a mid-engined, but again, it's an electric car. But two-door coupe thing, more supercar-y in aesthetics than the Mazda. But again, a great looking piece of car, kind of similar to I can't remember the name of that Porsche, what's probably going to be the next Porsche hypercar, which kind of looks like their WEC prototype, hypercar prototype. Again, I won't be able to explain it very well, but the Toyota FT-SE, another funky looking, more kind of transformery, futuristic, angular design compared to the Mazda, but a good looking thing nonetheless. Slightly not as aesthetically pleasing, but interesting nonetheless. Nissan's concept, the Nissan Hyperforce, which is a fantastic name. So basically it's kind of giving us it's a ridiculous thing. It's got a huge front splitter on it and wings and lowered to the ground. It's a batshit looking thing, but it's kind of supposed to give us a kind of an inkling as to what the next GTR / Skyline, or whatever it's going to be called, will be, or will kind of look like. Again, a tease of what their design language will be like going forward. But again, a two-door coupe sports car job. There's hope yet. Aesthetics is going to be very important in the future of the car, when we turn into an electric future and everything becomes ubiquitous. design will have a much more important role to play. And then obviously I've done Mazda, Toyota, Nissan, so there's obviously only one left. Honda surprised everyone with bringing out a Prelude concept, but one which actually looks quite close to production ready. Again, 2-door, but this one is this one's a hybrid, so it will have a combustion engine. I think a 4-cylinder combustion engine with a hybrid powertrain, plug-in hybrid. Again, styling wise, bit generic looking, but not bad looking. A nice, elegant design. And it's nice to have the Prelude back. I think everyone loves the Prelude. The 3rd generation Prelude was the legendary rider L.J.K. Setright, great motoring journalist of years gone. He's passed away a good while now. Check out his riding if you're not aware of L.J.K. Setright. Hilarious, batshit crazy man. He used to go around like dressed as a wizard and like a tennis player or a cricket player, big long beard, batshit crazy. But his favourite car, he owned one. Not his favourite car, because I have favourite cars that we'll never obtain, but his car of choice was the 3rd generation Honda Prelude. I think the 3rd generation Honda Prelude looks fantastic. I think it might be the best looking of the bunch, despite the fact that it has fixed headlights, and the 1st generation had pop-up headlights, and pop-up headlights always rule the roost. Actually, that Mazda Iconic SP has pop-up headlights, which I don't know if that will be something they will try to push into production, because as far as I'm aware, pop-up headlights are a thing of the past due to regulation. Could be wrong. My outstanding memory of the Honda Prelude is a friend of mine's granddad had a 2nd gen one, which is the least attractive of the bunch. They're all good looking cars, but been picked up from primary school in it a few times. Now so probably 4th, 5th class, so probably 10, 11 years old. Now I've always been somewhat of a taller gent, but back then, like I might have breached the 5-foot mark at that point in my life, maybe. Remember not really being able to fit into the back of it even then. So that's my outstanding memory of being folded up into the back of a 2nd generation Honda Prelude. Well, this has been an incredibly terrible episode. I do apologise. I've just been rambling on about nonsense, but again, I just want to keep these up for no reason other than to keep them up for myself. And if you do listen to them, I love you. What else has been happening in the world of the motor car? What have I not talked about? Excuse me, burping. I'm talking about my restaurant. Something that did happen to me, kind of slightly off topic. It was a really rainy day. I was driving along in my van, my future partner. Coming out of Houston Station, but coming from the back. And if you go along the side of Houston Station, if anyone's driven along there, to come out from the car park, essentially. If you come along there, it's a very narrow road, and the 2 lanes are segregated by bollards. So I was tipping along there at a gentle pace because there's speed ramps and everything. And I stopped. I pulled into the loading bay, and I pulled in because I had to run in and take a piss. And as I'm stopped, this woman comes up and starts banging on my window, going, "Hey, you splashed me! You splashed me!" And I was like, "What?" Now, maybe I did, but like not intentionally. And if I did, there was nothing for me to do. Like the lane is literally the width of the van. Like I couldn't avoid puddles, and like it's one of those completely, because it's essentially a private road. You know, it's got potholes all over it. I was like, look, sorry, but like I didn't do it on purpose, you mad one. And then I was like, it kind of, I don't know, it's funny because I don't like annoying people. Believe it or not. I don't like upsetting people. I really, it sits with me when people get aggressive with me. I'm not one for confrontation, and I'm not an aggressive person. I'm a pacifist, really. Long and short of it. But so I was like, later on the day, I was like, I had to look at the time. It was about 9:30 in the morning. It might have even been earlier. I think it was actually just before 9. I was like, I have to have a look at this. So I took the memory card out of the dash cam and had a look back at it. And it was again, look, I know, like, I could see where she was walking down the path. Now, she was walking on a path that's wide enough for 3 people. She was walking on the side of the footpath closest to the curb for no other reasons. That's the side she decided to walk on. Now, if you didn't want to get splashed on a rainy day, my advice would be don't walk on the side closest to the road. And not only that, she was walking along looking at her phone, which is an absolute I don't understand. Like, okay, occasionally I think we all do it. Like, you need to quickly look, directions on a map, or you're quickly looking at a text message. But people who just constantly walking along looking at their phone. So she was walking on looking at her phone closest to the road, and then I'm on a skinny potholed road where I can't avoid the puddles because the lane is segregated by bollards. So she took no responsibility herself for the fact that she got splashed, despite the fact that she was walking basically on the curb looking at her phone. So she was unaware that there was something coming because she was looking at her phone, and she was walking essentially in the line of fire of the puddles. So fuck you, bitch, if you're listening. You only have yourself to blame. There you go. So I just thought that y'all know about that. That was probably the low light of my motoring week, if you will. How did I spin off on that? Oh yeah, what else has actually been happening in the world of the motor car? Some quite interesting stuff now after the ramble of bollocks I talked about. I'll start with this one actually. TWR, which is, for any of you in the know will know, means Tom Walkinshaw Racing, is being reborn. Now, I don't know who owns the rights to the name, whether it's still the Walkinshaw family, but obviously it would have been initially the brainchild of Tom Walkinshaw, engineer, racing driver, businessman. Come on, God, people who dawdle fucking drive me crazy. Yeah, Tom. So like, he's famous for many things over the past. Talked about racing, like one Le Mans. Oh, sorry, excuse me, coughing. Maybe I've got COVID again. Ye old classic COVID, which is definitely back. What am I talking about? Yeah, Tom Walkinshaw Racing won Le Mans with Jaguar and Ross Brawn back in the late 80s. Very successful in touring car racing, both in the UK, in Europe, and in Australia. And not so successfully, but he did try and resurrect Arrow's Formula 1 in its latter years, but unfortunately that all went tits up. And unfortunately Tom Walkinshaw died prematurely. Now, he was in his late 60s, but that's too soon. I can't remember exactly what he passed away from, but anyway, either way, regardless, taken too soon. I don't know who owns the right. I don't know who owns the rights to the name now, but it is being reborn as a vehicle constructor. So they're going to actually start building cars. Again, the details are quite loose so far. The news was only broken a couple of days ago, but whether it'll be full ground up, I don't know if they're going to start building powertrains and everything else, or it's just going to be like chassis and then buy in powertrains or whatever. But interesting. It'll be interesting to see where the story goes, because Tom Walkinshaw was a legend, and it'd be a great name to have back. Just our previous in road cars, the Phase 1 Clio V6, which apparently is a bit of an interesting car to drive. That was developed by Tom Walkinshaw Racing, amongst other things. But yeah, there's a little bit of actual news. Tom Walkinshaw Racing, the name is coming back, and coming back as a manufacturer of road cars, probably racing cars as well. The Audi R8, not long for the world. The swan song for the Audi R8 has been inspired the Nürburgring, and it's the Audi R8 GT3, but a legal road going version. So full of big massive swan neck wing, gurney flaps, fucking aero canards. There's a what do you call it? A snorkel? No, we call it a snorkel, like an air scoop roof scoop for the engine and for the beautiful naturally aspirated V10. So like the R8, not long for the world, but it looks like it's going to go out with a bang, with a road legal version of the GT3 Racer, which will be a cool thing. I would like a first generation Audi R8, a manual V8. Still an undervalued car. I think you can get one. Talking sterling here, but 40 grand will get you an Audi R8. What is that on top of that car? A stuck-on rubber flower on top of that. What was that? A Toyota RAV4. There you go. Each to their own. And then from the wonderful world of Ferrari, the first one I'll talk about is another one of their SP special project one-off cars, the SP8, based on an F8 Spider, but made for a wealthy owner. A weird kind of two-tone paint job. The design is interesting. The rear end is quite cool. Front end I'm not 100% sure about, but like it has its own like unique headlight design and rear light design, which that in itself is a big cost. Homologating lights for a one-off. So someone very wealthy has commissioned another one-off Ferrari. So check it out. The Ferrari SP8. So this is obviously the 8th special project car that they've brought out. Was the Eric Clapton one? What was that called again? Was it called the 458 EC? It was a 458 based special project car, kind of made to look like a 512 BB. Was that one of the first ones? Was that called the SP1? I don't know. You don't come here for actual information. And then the big one, I think, from Ferrari was the 499p Modificata. So what they're doing is they're essentially selling to a select bunch of, I'm sure, very loyal and very wealthy Ferrari owners, a customer track only, obviously, version of the Le Mans winning Ferrari 499p, but de-restricted essentially, so it's not held back by the regulation and balance of performance of the World Endurance Championship. So it has like 800 and something horsepower, kind of extra aero. I'm sure it'll be set up so the gentleman driver will be able to drive it without looking like a tit. But the fact that they're selling them to the public, quote unquote, it'll be a very exclusive club, and I'm sure you'll have to be invited to buy one. And it is going to cost £5 million plus taxes. You'll only be able to use it at 9 events put on by Ferrari each year. If you want to use it outside of that, I don't know, bring it to Mondello. You will have to get in arrange it with Ferrari and pay them a bit more money to do so. But look, it's cool that they are doing such a thing, and such a thing exists. And if you're wealthy enough and loyal enough to Ferrari, if I was, I would jump on that like a hot bleeding snot. That's probably the coolest thing that's happened in the last week or so. The 499p Modificata. Rambling on quite a bit now. How many minutes have I been going for? 38 minutes, and I haven't spoken about motorsport yet. I'll try and keep this well under an hour. So motorsport. So yeah, I spoke to you last time just before the American Grand Prix, which, as Max put, after the sprint race, we kind of knew what the result was going to be, and it turned out to be true. So Max won at a canter. He was bitching and moaning about having an issue with the brakes, but he still managed to win by over 2 seconds, which by apparently managing a problem. Lewis came through from, I can't remember where he started, Lewis. I think he started maybe 4th or 5th. He did make his way through, Lewis, anyway, though, and finished 2nd on the road. And 3rd was Lando. 4th was Carlos. 5th was George. 6th was Charles on the road. After the race, then, the FIA checked. They checked Hamilton and Leclerc's cars, because they kind of were noticing they were bottoming out quite a lot. So they checked the skid blocks on the floor, because you're not allowed to wear. I think you're allowed 10. They have to be 10 millimeters in size, and if they drop below that in any way, shape, or form, I think there's a tolerance of maybe 10%. Then the car is deemed illegal. It's a slam dunk thing. It's something that they brought in back in 1994 after Senna's fatal crash, to stop the cars from bottoming out. Because obviously the closer you can run to the floor, run to the ground, the more you can manipulate the underfloor aero. They were deemed to have worn out the skid blocks too much, so they were disqualified. Now they did check then the rest of the top four. They checked Max's car and they checked Lando's car, and those were legal. Just to see that it wasn't an anomaly to do with the track. So Lewis lost his second place and Charles lost his sixth, which was, I have to double check the points gap now between Ferrari and Mercedes for second in the championship. Aston are out of it now for fourth. McLaren have quite comfortably taken fourth, and I can't see Aston making any gains to get that back. But yeah, so it ended up being Max first, Lando second, Carlos third, George fourth, and blah 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 blah. It was a bit of a damn squib of a race, which is sad, because the circuit of the Americas in Austin is a great track. Like, it allows for overtaking. It's great. It's got a great high-speed section. The S's after the first bend, the first corner being so wide allows for multiple lines of attack. But it was just it was like, after the sprint, as Max put it, we know how it's gonna play out, and that's exactly what happened. I won't ramble on too much about that, because then we had another Grand Prix. We had the Mexican Grand Prix, just gone. I watched it in a pub because it was the bank holiday weekend, and it was on in the evening time. I watched it in the Square Ball, in Hogan Place there in Dublin 2, which was fine. I wouldn't be pushed with watching Formula 1 races in pubs, but you know, one of my mates wanted to go for a couple of points, and he enjoys the F1 too, so we did that. Again, not a terrible race. Again, with nothing too, because you can't overtake in Mexico, because they run high downforce setups, because it's so far above sea level. They run high downforce setups, the highest downforce that they have, like, so Monaco spec downforce, but then the downforce levels they get are similar to Monza, which means the DRS, which is, you know, questionable in itself. The DRS has very little effect, and it's hard to overtake anyway, and because they're so high up, cooling is an issue. So when you're following a car, your car overheats quite easily. The only real excitement was bang on the middle of the race. K-Mag's rear suspension failed as he's going through the high speed section of sector 2, and it threw him off the road at quite high speed into the barriers. Now thankfully he walked away from it, but they had to red flag it to fix the barriers. So we essentially had two races, because it was, as I say, it was smack bang in the middle. Restart, you know, you'd hope would kind of bring a bit of excitement, but it didn't really. Lando was probably the biggest highlight. He had terrible qualifying. I think he qualified 19th. Just didn't have a great first lap, and then Alonso spun, bringing out the yellow flags, so he didn't get a chance to do a second lap. But he came through the field quite convincingly, and I think he finished fourth all in then, in the end. It was Max, Lewis again second, to be fair to him, and Charles managed to hang on to third. Probably the biggest shock was, though, Checo Perez, it being his home race. I'd say 90% of the people there were there cheering for Checo. Obviously things have been a bit fraught lately with, you know, things Helmut Marko has been saying about Checo, his drive kind of being up for question, because he hasn't really been pulling out any performances, and Max has been making a holy show of him more recent. He started fourth. He got a good start. He got up alongside Charles going into the first corner. Charles was in the middle of the circuit. Max was coming up on his inside, because the Ferrari locked out the front row, which I should mention. Locked out the front row for the race, which was exciting enough to begin with. But obviously then they didn't convert it because Ferrari things. But yeah, so Charles was in the middle of the road. Max was coming up on his inside, and Checo tried to go around the outside of Charles, going into the first corner. Now it was a racing incident, but Checo really has no one else to blame but himself, because he tried to turn in on Charles, expecting Charles to disappear, but Charles had nowhere to go. Yeah, so he had Max to his right. And if he'd backed out of it, he just would have got rear-ended. And nor should he have backed out of it. You know, he's allowed to contest that corner as much as anyone else. So yeah, Checo turned in. His right rear hit Charles's front left, broke Charles's front wing, but he managed to continue with a broken front wing, surprisingly. But it sent Checo flying through the air and spun him off. He did keep the car running, but there was too much damage onto the rear, and they had to retire the car. Visibly very upset with Checo, because could possibly be his last Mexican Grand Prix. Could be certainly it could possibly be his last in a competitive car. Hard to know. There's still been no announcement made. They've said he is driving for them next year, and we have to take that as truth for now. There is rumours flying around. Obviously, look, Danny Rick had a great performance. He qualified fourth. Checo must be in fifth in the AlphaTauri, and managed to hold on for, was it sixth or seventh? He had a very convincing weekend. Did Danny Rick? It was the Danny Rick of old. So there's chatter that Danny Rick is going to take that second seat and put Lawson in the AlphaTauri. But now there's a rumour flying around that Alonso's been offered that second seat, which would be interesting. Could make for a fractious pairing, both him and Max, because you'd have to believe Alonso would pull performances out of the Red Bull and at least challenge Max. It'd be good to see, because it doesn't look like Aston are going to go anywhere anytime. Like, they had a great start to the season, but not so much, okay, they've fallen back, but also the teams around them have taken a leap forward. So, for Alonso to go to Red Bull, again, this is just a wild rumour. There might be no truth to it, but look, there's generally no smoke without fire in Formula 1. It definitely will be his last chance at any form of success before he does eventually retire. But although he does show no signs of slowing down. Yeah, it'd be good. Like, I think Max, he does get along with Max so far, but a lot of race drivers do get along until they become teammates and things get competitive. But they could work well together. I think Max is yearning for a teammate that will push him. As much as he loves winning, I think he knows he's going to start getting complacent, not having someone pushing him. So I think he would like to have a competitive teammate, and I think of all the drivers out there that could possibly take it to him, Fernando might be the guy. So we'll see what comes of that. So I'm not 100% sure what the points scenario is between Ferrari and McLaren, but that's probably the main storyline that's left with 3 races to go. We have Brazil, we have Vegas, and we have Abu Dhabi left. Brazil is this weekend, the last of this triple header, and it's a 2-week gap to Vegas, and then I think then there's a week then just between Vegas and Abu Dhabi. We have Brazil this weekend. Again, a nice evening time race, not as outrageously late as USA and Mexico. I think the race is on at 5 o'clock our time, which is nice enough, late enough in the evening, especially this time of year. Not too late, where it's close to bedtime. And Brazil, I love Brazil. It's one of the very few anti-clockwise tracks, and it's a short lap, but it's a great layout. Some great high-speed sections, undulations, elevations. So yeah, and again, it generally brings out a good race. So hopefully it's a good one. I must check the points difference between, because I would as a diehard member of the Tifosi, I really want Ferrari to at least claim second and be best of the rest, which they deserve, considering they've had some good pole positions, which again their conversion rate isn't great, but they are the only team so far, and probably will be the only team this season to actually beat Red Bull. Now Mercedes, Mercedes, were they the only team to beat Red Bull? No, Ferrari won obviously a few races in the early part of last year. But Mercedes' only win last season was at Brazil. Was their most competitive weekend all season last year. George Russell obviously took the win. So Mercedes do have form in Brazil. So yeah, but no, the fight for second in the championship between Ferrari and Mercedes will be an interesting one. So I look forward to Brazil coming up. WRC was on the weekend just gone, and it was the Rally of Central Europe, so it takes in a few different countries in Central Europe. It's a tarmac rally. As much as it's great seeing rally cars going sideways on gravel and snow, I do enjoy a tarmac rally because the cars look great because they've got tarmac set up, so they've got the bigger wheels and the lower ride height and stuff. Probably the most familiar to road car as rally cars can get. As well as obviously a bit of a fondness because obviously Ireland has a great heritage of tarmac rally. But it was a good event. I kept my finger on the pulse a bit with it over the weekend. The championship was wrapped up. Kalle Rovanperä back to back, his second one with Toyota, well deserved. He's a great young talent. Kalle being the son of Harry Rovanperä. He's legit. Is El Kalle. So he beat out Alfyn Evans again. Alfyn Evans being the runner-up. God love him. He this one seemed to upset him the most. Although it was a bit of a foregone conclusion. Kalle was always going to win it. Realistically, good thing about rally is it is there is a lot of variables in rallying, so you don't tend to get super dominance unless you're Sebastian Loeb or Sebastian Ogier at that point. Ogier was at the Central European Rally this weekend. Didn't have a great weekend though because he started off the weekend ill. But yeah, it was a great event. But the championships are now sewn up. And congratulations to Kalle Rovanperä. This weekend as well also has the 8 Hours of Bahrain in the World Endurance Championship. It's the final round of the World Endurance Championship. Again, I'll probably dip in and out of it as the weekend goes on. I must get on to my mate and get our trip to Le Mans sorted for next year, because we keep saying we need to go back because it's been over 10 years now since we last went. I also must, speaking of motor shows, I was talking about the Tokyo Motor Show there earlier. The Geneva Motor Show is on again next year, which is something I've always told myself I'd go to and never done. So I must see if I can work out a trip to that. It's in February next year, I think. So the 8 Hours of Bahrain, the final round of the World Endurance Championship. Again, all the championships are wrapped up. Well, I know the Hypercar Championship is wrapped up. I'm not sure about LMP2 and the GT3 class. I must double check these things. I should check these things before I start talking about them, really, shouldn't I? But I'll dip in and out of that over the weekend, the 8 Hours of Bahrain. I'll start wrapping this up now because I'm talking absolute waffle as normal. I didn't leave you with any of my normal stuff last week, but I will this week. My classified find of the week. I may have mentioned this one before, but it seems to still be up there. Well, it's had a refreshed ad anyway. It's a 1990 Audi 200 Avant Quattro 2.2 10 valve. Immaculate, and it's got 200 and something thousand miles. It's leggy in miles, but it's essentially been restored. It's absolutely immaculate. It's NCT until September of 2025. This thing's spec'd up to the nines. Like the fact that it's the 2.2 5-cylinder Quattro is cool enough as it is, but it's got electric everything. It's got electric memory seats, cloth interior, aircon, the works. So for $9.5 grand, it's in Navan, I think, County Meath. $9.5 grand, which I know is a lot for an old estate car, but it's a classic. And find another, for want of a better phrase. It's the only Audi 200 Avant Quattro up in Dundee, so you'll find it pretty easily. And that's my classified find of the week. One thing I didn't find any music. Let me think of some music off the top of my head. What have I been listening to? Absolutely, it's not. This is unfamiliar, but just an album I returned to. An all-time classic. It's one of those albums that is great from start to finish. An all-time classic. Not anything obscure, but White Stripes, White Blood Cells. What a fantastic album that is. Dead Leaves on the Dirty Ground, Hotel Yoruba, I Can Tell That We're Going to Be Friends, amongst many, many others. What a fantastic album that is. And then my YouTube channel this week is one called Rallyo, or Alio, which I think might be Welsh for rally. It's a Welsh YouTube channel focusing on rallying. I think it might be episodes that were on Welsh Channel 4, S4C, which is called. I say it is Welsh, and the presenter presents in Welsh, but he talks to most people who speak English, so it's mostly in English. It's presented by so they're proper like 45-minute long videos presented by a guy called Howard Davies, who's a former rally co-driver. He was co-driver for Gwyndaf Evans back in the 90s when Gwyndaf won the British Rally Championship in 1996, I think it was. He's a funny bloke, and he just goes around factories and garages and collections of other rally stars. I've only watched one. He did one with Total Porsche, which was very entertaining, and there's a few other ones up there. I know there's one there with Nicky Grist, former co-driver of the late great Colin McRae. But the one I watched was hilarious, so I can highly recommend it. I'm going to watch some more of them. Rallyo, or Alio, on YouTube. Check that out. Right, I'll shut up now, talking absolute bollocks as normal. Again, if you've been listening, I love you very much. And until next time, be safe, be well. I'll talk to you again soon. Bye.